So you were first in your class in law school and first in the state on the bar exam, but of course that doesn't guarantee professional success, especially perhaps in 1952 in Allegheny County for a woman. So what was it like, just your first few months or years in actually being a lawyer?
Being a woman lawyer.
You were, as I recall, one of the first, how many lawyers, women lawyers in Allegheny County?
I think I might have been number 100.
In history?
In history. That had gone on for a very long time. I was either 99 or 100 or 101. I think 100, but I'm not sure. It was strange to my colleagues at the bar to have me around, because I was around in an area where we did trial work over in the courts, where you bumped into other lawyers or you worked with other lawyers in judges' chambers. And the only people they were used to having in judges' chambers who were not males were clerks, who did clerical people, or the cleaning people, or the people who did the typing for transcripts. In fact, one of my early experiences at the bar is when you go into a courtroom, there is often a raised dais where the judge's desk is. And beyond that, ordinarily there's a door and there's the judge's chambers. So if you want to go see the judge's chambers, you have to go beyond that railing. And in one case, we were at a recess or something. It wasn't a regular case going on. I walked up to the railing to go through it, and a gentleman standing there said, "Hey, girlie, where do you think you're going?" And I said, I need to see the judge. And he said, "Girlie, you don't go to see the judge without permission." And then it turned out, he found out I was a lawyer, which astonished him, of course. And I did get in to see the judge. That was the kind of respect and reverence with which I was greeted by the personnel at the courthouse.
How about, did you feel uncomfortable, or that you had an extra burden to shoulder?
You know, in truth, I guess I did. Daddy and I, as you know, had a practice in town during the day, and at night we had the Braddock office. And we used to cover the Braddock office every night. Daddy went out, not Sunday, but the rest of the nights of the week, and during the day on Saturday. And I went out there, and particularly soon after I became a lawyer, I became pregnant. And so during my pregnancy, that was my Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, I covered the Braddock office. And so some of the clients who came in saw me to start with, which was a little strange for the Braddock population out there. And I remember very distinctly one of the cases that I was working on came up for the time where you had to assign trial counsel. And I was very worried that the client wouldn't be happy because I was a lawyer, I was a woman. And I said to him, "Now, if you like, if you'd rather, if you're not comfortable having a woman represent you, we can have somebody else do it." And he stuck with me. We got a very good verdict, so he was glad he stuck with me. But it was strange for me. I had to overcome even what in my mind was unusual.
Give us just a sense of, let's say, 1955, 56. You've been in practice for a couple years, but it's still new, and you're just starting out. What was a typical workday like?
1955, 56. The first thing I'm going to do is count my children.
Okay.
2 at that point. What was it like, my workday?
Yeah. What was it?
Well, my workday was two little ones, this big and this big, was very unusual. I got up very early in the morning. Before Hannah was born, when just Jessica was born, I'd get up in time to feed her breakfast at 6 o'clock in the morning, which included soft-boiled eggs, which I hated, which I made her even when I was pregnant with Hannah. That was a big sacrifice.
Yeah, right.
But so I used to get them on a very early schedule. They'd have their breakfast and be ready to go out. My father was very big on fresh air. You had to have fresh air every day. Fresh air was very good for you, and it didn't matter if it was freezing cold or piping hot. You had to have a little fresh air. So I had them on a schedule where they'd have breakfast, they'd go out and get some of the fresh air, and then come back, and they would go down for their naps at about 11 o'clock, and then I would go to work. I had someone who came in who looked after them, but she didn't have to bathe them or feed them or any of that because they had already eaten.
And Dad, of course, had already preceded you to work.
Oh yeah, he went to work normal time, and then I would come home when Dad came home, and get the girls ready. They'd have their dinner and so forth with us, and then they'd go to sleep and I'd go to work. Now, usually or often there could be work that I brought home, but I worked from when they went to sleep until the wee small hours of the morning, and then I got up at the 6 o'clock breakfast time. So I didn't sleep a lot back in '55.
Right.
It wasn't my big occupation at that time.
And at the time, was it just Littman and Littman?
Well, when we started, I don't remember whether I told you before, Daddy was in practice by himself, and the door on our firm said S. David Littman. And the day that I was admitted, we went over to the courts. We all got sworn in en masse. And we went over to the courts, we got sworn in and had a speech, and it was all very lovely. And I got back to the office that had said when I left, S. David Littman, to having been erased by someone, the S. David, and it now said Littman and Littman. So I was the first Littman in the firm, right?
I guess that's right.
There was one big advantage I had in being a woman, which is that everybody remembered me, because it was pretty unusual having a woman around, and they learned my name. When I used to go to events like dinners, bar association dinners, they all knew that for dessert I got fruit, not the cake, and they just automatically brought them to me. But there were more than that. It was so strange for the people who dealt in trial work to be dealing with a woman lawyer in any capacity, that I got special treatment in two ways. One is the people I had gone to school with or who knew about my school record were for a long time in awe of the academic achievement. You know, the first in the class and broke a record in grades and so forth. So they were very respectful toward me. Even though I was only a woman, they knew that I had achieved very well. And that was a big advantage because they came into court expecting me to do very well. There was one judge who remembered me. Down in federal court, it was even more strange to have women because those tended to be large cases and commercial firms took them. And there was one judge down there, Judge Miller, who greeted me the same way every time I walked into his chambers. He'd say, "Oh, it's the lady lawyer we have today," which was lovely for my clients.
Right.
And I'd say, "Yes, Judge Miller." But you learned to either take offense at things like that or to just take it in stride, and I opted to do the second. I was early impressed with the fact that when I go to court, I'm representing not myself and my views and my beliefs. I'm representing my client. And it didn't help my client to have me say, "Don't call me lady lawyer." It's bigoted.
I seem to recall one more forward greeting by a judge that might have involved a little pinch. Is that do I have that right?
You have it right. I don't know that we've told that outside the family.
I see. Well, I think it's okay. Just you don't have to name
The judge.
yeah.
He was very smart
Uh-huh.
and thought very highly of himself. And I'm sure he respected my arguments, but he didn't respect them so much that when I went into his chambers one day, he had his arm around me, and it wasn't a little pinch, it was like a little pat. And can you imagine going in to see an important judge on your case? And it's to say the best, a little disconcerting to have here I am all primed to talk about some legal theory, but it worked out all right.
Well, did you always know that you were going to be excellent as a lawyer? Did it take you a while to get your sea legs and feel comfortable in the profession?
Yes, it took me a long while to get my sea legs. First in law school, it took a long time. I had no idea. At the end of our first year, when we had our exams, we took exams in all of our courses. I had no idea. Somebody could have told me I failed all of them, and I would not have been able, honestly, to say, well, geez, I thought I did very well. I don't know whether I've told you the story before about what happened at the end of our first year with exams, but a rumor floated around. There was some glitch, and they didn't give out the grades for quite a while. And this rumor floated around. Somebody told me, somebody says that somebody got 5 A's and a B plus in the exams. And we didn't know because they weren't given out yet. I said, 5 A's and a B plus? My goodness, that's amazing. And it turned out to be me. I had no idea. So then I settled into expecting to do well. I knew that in practice, how well I did was reflective of how much work I put in, and I put in a lot of work. Very early on in my career, the dean of the law school called me one day, and I had just had my third child, who was at the time the call came, I think it was a week, maybe it was 10 days, and the dean of the law school called me, "Roz, yeah, this is Ed Sell. The faculty met the other day, and I guess you didn't know, but John Metz, that was the professor who taught evidence, is going to be retiring, and we have decided we'd like to ask you to teach the course in evidence at law school. Would you be interested?" And I was first astounded. We didn't have women professors in the law school. Zero. And but my bigger handicap was, I said, "Ed, I have 3 children, all under school age, and a full-time practice, and I don't know whether I could, I'd love to do it, because doing trial work, teaching evidence was just a perfect fit." But I said, give me a week to think about it. So I took a week, and they agreed that they would allow me to teach my course first thing Monday morning, the first 2 hours. I taught my course, and I started teaching that year, and I didn't sleep any Sunday night until the course was over.